Okay, this is November 25th, 2011. The wrecking crew just arrived at a fishing spot at the John Sevier Steam Plant in Rogersville, Tennessee. Just Screech, Bunny, and yours truly, Sentry, here today. So, sort of looking around, we hadn't even tried to get anything in the water yet. Pretty long haul to walk in here. Try to swing around, not fall on these rocks everywhere. And boat fishing here. I'm right at the mouth of the discharge area. And this is sort of where I wanted to be, as I alluded to on a post on Catfish Academy site. So Catfish Academy, this is sort of dedicated to you, and not sure how we're going to do things yet. So till we get a little more informed and what have you, that'll be it for right now. Sentry signing off. Well, fellow catfishermen, Catfish Academy, we salute you. We're finally set up, been set up for a little while now. That's Screech up here sitting on the rock in front of the little dam there. This is Holston River, and from this section down it feeds into Cherokee Lake. Anyway, my cell phone's going off. Anyway, let me see who it is. Sentry, come back. Alright, back after that text come in. Now we got Bunny up here, and say the sun I know is going to probably wreck this video, but the discharge comes down through here, and we got a bit of a seam here. I don't know if the video will pick it up or not, but you go on across some. Okay, you can see there's a seam right in there and one right across. Now I haven't tried to get across to that one over there, but like I say, I'm right here at the mouth of the discharge area and hoping that get something. I still got flatheads on my mind, but now I'm not used to fishing for flatheads in the daytime. But that's the kind of bait I got on. Can't get it out of my system. Anyway, let me try to roll around here. Now there's one of my rods. Of course, most of you are not going to be used to seeing anything from me in the daytime. Everything's always shot on night shot. I did make it a point, though, to not have it on night shot. But it's one of the Bone Island, rods, of which I have 3. On this particular one, I have a small bluegill on it, and coming around, another identical setup. And on this one I have a shiner, and he's really been dancing the most of either, or of the 3 rods that I've got out. And coming on around on this one, I've got a pretty large bluegill on it, and I haven't been able to tell that he's moved at all. I've got about 6 ounces of weight on this one because he was so big, and on the others I have 2 ounces. I am fishing running paternoster rig. But that's it for right now. Sentry signing off. Okay, thought I'd give a little facial shot here. Of course, face ain't much, but we're gonna give it our best shot today. I've only fished this place a couple of times, and that was back in the late 70s, maybe early 80. And like I say, I only fished a couple of times, and at that time I was doing a lot of fly fishing, so I tried that more than anything else around here. So I don't have much of a testimonial as to what this area will produce, other than I know its history. And it does have quite a very good history of very large stripers and catfish, but I'm more familiar with the stories of the stripers than I am the catfish. Now, I don't know how much shakiness is going to show up on this when I'm trying to hold this camera. I do see it shaking, but I think it does have an anti-shake or vibration feature in it. But for those of you who fish the rivers quite frequently, I know you know more about this than what I do. I normally fish the lakes for my flatheads, but I know they're to be had in the rivers, and just like Cat Matt and several others there at Catfish Academy, what they can attest to from what they've caught. But just to give a shout out to Cat Matt and Mickey and Flathead Hunter, Miss Poole. I can't keep track of everybody. Flats 1975, I believe. But all of you that I'm, swap a comment with from time to time. Like I say, this is dedicated to you, whether I flop today or not. I just tell it like it is, show it like it is. So, for now, this is Cedric, enjoying a cigar, signing off. Well, hello members of Catfish Academy. This is Cedric, coming to you with a portion of video that should have followed the very end of our steam plant trip, as I was going to give sort of a synopsis, if you will, or a critique, whatever fancy word you may want to put in there. But as I started to record it, I noticed that apparently I was having camera problems. But what the problem was, that the camera was running out of tape. And this was due to, at the end of the first segment that I shot, showing you the layout around the steam plant, and a shot a screech and a bunny, and trying to show you the seam or seams that were in the discharge area. Then Screech came over to me to talk to me about something, and I told him that, or he asked me if I was doing some type of dialogue, and I told him yes, for one of the catfishing sites that I belong to. Well, I thought I'd cut the camera off, but as it turned out, I had just put the lens cap back on and placed it back in the camera bag. So when I go to shoot this little thing like what I'm trying to do now, which should be at the end, and it still could be if I chose to edit it that way, but as I told you, almost anything, I'm going to tell you how it is, like it is, show you how it is and like it is, be it good or bad, indifferent, whatever. That's just me. I try to be as honest as I can be with anyone about anything. I'm willing to share information, even though I'm not a wealth of information. But anyway, I noticed that when my camera light started doing like it was on record and started seeing a flashing, well, I have had some camera problems where it's been cutting on and off, and there's a switch problem. So I thought that's what this might be. But then I got to looking and saw how much time I had left, and I said, well, that's not possible. I didn't shoot that much video while I was out there. Now, I could have run the blank portion without any images with some of the audio that was still understandable. And as I tried to teach Screech a few things about reading the water on a river, even though I do not have a lot of experience on a river, yet I do know a lot of things to look for. And I was trying to explain to him things about seams, and was showing him, like in that discharge area where you had a riffle coming in here, you had a break of rocks in the center where it was riffling, and then it sort of smoothed out, and then you had another riffle area across the way. So we had really 1, 2, 3 seams that we could fish. So I told him initially when we got there, you know, that we should fish here, here, and here, and have one person fishing right where the riffle entered into a, not a deep pool, but you know, this one in that discharge area, it just wasn't that deep. I'd say probably the deepest water maybe 10 to 12 feet deep where we were at. Well, anyway, like I say, a lot of this stuff was in the video portion that was blanked out. You could see me putting the lens cap back on the camera and hear me putting it back in the bag and so on. And so as I sat here after I discovered this problem, I kept trying to run it forward. You know, I thought there was a timeout on the camera, but that's only, it's not when you're in record, but when you have it in standby mode, and then it will time out and cut the camera off after about 5 minutes. But like I say, I just wanted to show you or tell you about my mistakes. Now, as you will see further in this video, Screech does get into, he catches the only fish of the day, and it was about a 3-pound largemouth. I mean, he was just catching bait. I mean, it's what we call linkless fish. That's another one of the members of the wrecking crew. Now, he's a big bass fisherman. Of course, we all love linkless, and of course, I give him a hard time all the time about just fishing for bait, and that he's a status quo fisherman. He gets distracted by the tournaments and their weigh-ins and so on and so forth. But we're good friends, and he takes it all in good stride. Of course, he gives me my share, or his share, of a hard time towards me. But I wanted to talk a little bit about flatheads today, since really I have not been into it seriously but for the past 2 fishing seasons, 2010 and 2011, and got started late in 2010. Now, I had been intrigued by the fish and had started studying about the flatheads back probably anywhere from 6 to 10 years ago. But because of work with the dreaded post office, which you don't want to get me started on, just to say I've been shafted by them out of my retirement and what have you. I worked 6 days a week for 9 years every day, while then the past 3 before I finally went out last October before last now, then I was back on 6 days again. Anyway, man can't have a life with that, and never could plan anything, never knew what time I was going to get off, so on and so forth. Long story on that, don't want to take up a lot of time on it, but just to give you part of the reason why I have not been pursuing flatheads any further back than what I have. Just that I quit everything when I went to work for the Postal Service. Took up all my time. Didn't feel like doing anything once I got off. Just wanted to rest. But anyway, talking about flatheads. Now, what I have discovered in, you know, where I do, I might as well say 100% of my fishing until this past Friday, is in the lake. It's a very deep clear water lake. We're talking depths in some places in excess of 250 feet deep. I've witnessed some, you know, on my graph that I know is 250, and I've been told that there's, you know, much, much deeper water. It's a mountainous lake, and it's very clear. And the thing that we have discovered this year, and like I said, we primarily catch and release. We do keep the occasional flathead, you know, anything say 5 pounds and under. Normally we release anything, you know, above 5 or 10. You know, there's been times when we've had problems releasing the fish where we couldn't get him rejuvenated, and therefore we've kept the fish. But in our cleaning of the fish, and this year we've probably only kept about 6, I believe. And in each instance, the bellies were empty except in one. Now, if you want to call this hypothesis, speculation, learning by experience or example or what have you, we just do not think, where we fish anyway, that the flatheads feed all the time. I mean, why aren't we catching any that have something in their stomachs? So, you know, it's our belief that, you know, they just lay around in one place. They're not like a, even though I don't pursue channels and blues, but I may some this winter. I mean, you can just look at some of the things that have been posted online from the aquariums at Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, where you see the channels and the blues almost in constant movement. But the flathead, here he is, stationary in most everything I've seen. Now, I can attest to this personally from a small bait pond that we have. And we keep our goldfish and bluegill and stuff like that we buy and or catch in this. And we've had 2 little flathead in there. We seldom ever, upon feeding those fish, ever find that flathead or flatheads. When we did have 2, we did have some dogs get in the pond and kill a lot of our bait. But this flathead stays in one spot under one drain pipe. I have mountain springs feeding this bait pond, and he's always there, except one time when we had something placed in the pond, a little thing to make it easier for us to get the bait out. He got up under it, but that's the only other place he's ever been. He's always in the same place, and normally always facing the same direction. So just by my own observances, and Bunny is renting another house that I have, which adjoins this property, and he just moved in there in October. But he's taking care of the fish, and you know, he keeps me updated when I'm not down there looking at them. So we found this to be quite intriguing. And from the standpoint of why a lot of flathead fishermen, or beginning flathead fishermen, let me put it that way, even though I will not put myself in that category for what I'm about to say, but just to say this, many people when they start fishing for flatheads, and because they don't get something the first day or night, or the second day or night, or the third day or night, or 7 days, they tend to get pretty discouraged. But that was not the case in my situation, because I'd studied about this fish. And I knew of many, not personally, but due to what I've read, many people, they were prepared for that always. Now these were people who were targeting, you know, trophy flatheads. And so they were prepared to sacrifice the time and not catch any other fish in hopes of catching that monster. And that's much of where I am today in my pursuit of that 50-pounder. I know I've had him on probably 3 to 4 times this year. Same fish? I doubt it. But anyway, some very, very, very strong fish. And I told the members of the wrecking crew, and especially Reggie, she drives over here about an hour and a half to fish with us. And she's just a woman who likes to fish. She didn't have anybody to fish with, and so we invited her to come join us. So she comes when she can, and she's a very dedicated fisherman. You ought to see her car. I mean, she's got 30-40 gallon tank back there. She brings us a lot of our bait and what have you, and I mean, here she is fishing with sometimes others, 4 or 5 guys, and she's the only female. But we're all about fishing, and that's it. And we're glad that she can be a part of it, and have a few friends who share the same same interest. But my gar is going to go out on me. So far, of all the places that I've chosen, through study of my graphs, as I cruise along with the graph running and see certain things on the bottom, sometimes I can't explain it. It's just a gut feeling that I say, this would be a place to catch flathead. And I can sit here before you and any of the members of the wrecking crew will tell you, every place I picked has produced a flathead. Several. One place this year, I spotted it earlier in the year, early in the spring, and I told Bunny, he was with me that night, I said, we've got to fish this. Well, it was a month and a half, 2 months before we finally fished it. And first time, we caught 3 flatheads out of it. And that is the same place where Bunny and I got, when I got the 17.5 pound and he got the 16 pound one night. And plus I had on a really large one there. But just to say this to any who view this, who are new to flatheading, don't be discouraged. It is a weight game, at least in our area. And I have not talked to anyone in this area who says any different, but I don't run into a whole lot of flathead fishermen. There are just a few that I know about. So this is from our experience. Man-made lake, clear water, and what have you, and it's a weight game for us. And we try to learn the times, if we can spend enough time on the water. Now, we lost out on a lot of time in September because Bunny and I were working on the house that he's going to move into. There was some water damage and we had to replace the floor. So that cut in big time to some of the prime fall fishing for us, and may have kept us from getting that trophy, that 50-pounder that we were looking for. And so we didn't get that much more time to fish before this bad weather started setting in. But I just want you guys to know, those of you who post anyway, and I enjoy reading other people's successes and or failures and all, but sometimes it gets sort of disheartening when it seems like I'm posting the most of this stuff, and I'd like to hear from some other people, or at least get a few more comments of what I'm trying to do and trying to add some type of information and maybe give new guys some tips. But I counted up a month or more ago, and since I joined the site I counted topics started. And I'm not looking to run up a post count. That's not me. I just post it like it is and tell it like it is. But like I say, I don't remember all the numbers of new topics that had been started, but from the time I did it, I had 30% of those. And you know, that to me, that's relatively discouraging. And you know, I'll see a lot of times there'll be a lot of people view a video and, you know, never make a comment or anything like this. Of course, people say time. Now, I understand, but by the same token, I've always found this out. A man finds enough time to do what he wants to do. And to me, if somebody has time to view a video, then they have time to make a comment on it, if they like it. You know, I say, if you don't like my stuff, fine, you don't have to comment. I mean, you don't have to watch it. You know, if you hadn't liked any of them, don't watch them at all. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just putting it out here for some information to people who I believe are dedicated flathead fishermen. And that's what I'm all about. But just to say, it's not just this site. I resigned from another local site because I was putting out all this information trying to help people on this lake. And nobody ever comment, say anything. So I quit. I gave up. And just to say that, you know, people like to feel appreciated, you know, if they give something out. Now, needless to say, I don't comment on everything that I read. But I will never use the excuse about it being time. It's either, maybe it wasn't something that interested me fully, or maybe I didn't have the kind of comment that, I'm not going to say it would be a bad comment, but something that I needed to say that would contribute significantly to the post. But maybe I'm off on a rant here. And I mean, I'm a night owl. I guess that's part of being a flathead fisherman in my area. And most of the wrecking crew, all of us are night owls. And it's when we seem to thrive the best. But again, just to say, I thoroughly enjoy the Catfish Academy. And I hope that I contribute something positive to each one of you, and that you can glean some of my limited knowledge. And oh, I would have a request that I am looking for, and if anybody can guide me to a particular brand or what have you, certainly leave a comment after I post this video. And apparently this thing probably going to end up being pretty long because I've sat here and jacked my jaw this long. But I'm looking for like a 9-foot rod, a live bait rod that will handle, say, 8 to 17 pound line, maybe an ounce to an ounce and a half weight. Something that's very light, portable. I want this for some of this wintertime bank fishing that I'm going to be doing if we have decent enough weather to get out there. So, you know, I want this rod, you know, fairly limber. I mean, not super stiff, not a noodle rod and all, something in between. I've found something, I think one of the ugly sticks, it falls in that category, but it's got that EVA foam grip, and I'd rather have cork. So if anyone knows of anything like that, or you know, some brand specific, how about shoot me a line? Anyway, I'm going to get off here, quit flapping my jaw. Hope y'all enjoy seeing old Screech get the bass. I didn't get all the action shot, didn't get up there till he about got it in. But just trying to give y'all a little bit of our trip, basically virgin waters to us, and we flopped except for that. So for now, And until the next fishing adventure, unless I try to do some type of instructional video, something on rigs or something like that, this is Centric, signing off. Good fishing to you all. Well, here it is, 1:20 p.m. and Screech, unfortunately, took one of these things. Well, I guess we can use that for bait. He's pretty good size. But that's first today. Proud to get something anyway. Looks like it swallowed the hook pretty good. So Screech scores first blood. Oh, somebody I forgot to shout out to a while ago. Just remembered, old Skunk Boy out there in Iowa. Maybe if you get out this way next summer, we'll get us a Flathead trip in. So for now, Sanford signing off. Alright, it's now about 3 o'clock. Been around an hour and a half since Screech caught the lowly bass. And I've changed to 2 rods with cut bait. So we're gonna give that a try. Maybe the wrong strategy, but thought I'd give it a whirl anyway. Got a couple other fishermen over here. We did see one fella, he had caught 2 sauger, and a fella that was in a boat looked like he probably caught a sauger. So there are some fish being caught today. Maybe we're not fishing for the right thing, but until a little bit later. Cedric, signing off. Oh, just a note to say that when we left this morning it was 27 degrees. And now, I don't know, it's in the 60s. And I'm sweating like crazy. I had to get me a bandana out, stop the sweat from running in my eyes. And the disadvantage to where we're fishing is that we're going to be facing directly into the sun for the remainder of the afternoon. But I know it's going to cool off. But we'll tough it out a bit, see what gives. Oh, call out, shout out to Catfish Calvin too. Sam, signing off for now.